Good morning, ladies and gentlemen out there in YouTube land. One feature film franchise loses its director, and another franchise gains one. And we're going to talk about it on today's episode of Saturday Serial. All right, I hope everyone is ready for today's show. And I got a great lineup for you. As I said before, one franchise has lost its director, and another has gained one. I hope everyone is doing very well out there today. I've already been working one shift at work, and I have to go back later today. I see we already have someone joining us in the chat. I want to welcome War Monkey. He's always been a supporter of the show. War Monkey, I hope you're having a great morning. I know that some people out there had kind of a rough week. I know I did. Um, a man who was a friend of my dad's unfortunately passed away recently, and I know everybody just sort of had a rough week in general. And but we're going to have a good show. This is about positive vibes, and War Monkey says so far so good. Great, happy to hear that. War Monkey, since I've got you here in the chat, have you seen the new Doctor Strange? I've seen it. My review is up on my channel. The link is in the chat. Uh, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. The parts that Sam Raimi directed, I thought worked like gangbusters, and the studio mandated stuff dragged the movie down. I think it's a solid rental or a matinee, but like I said, that's just my opinion, and I'm curious what everyone in chat thinks. I just did last night. Yeah, I saw it first day myself. Um, I'm curious, War Monkey, what did you think of Doctor Strange 2? What you could definitely tell what parts were Raimi and what part were Disney. Uh, yeah, very much so. I got to agree with you 100% there. Um, had the same reaction as you. Some good, some very boring. Um, I don't know about boring. I wasn't personally myself bored by it. I was engaged. Maybe up until the third act. If I had another kind of minor nitpick, it's maybe 10 minutes too long. But that's the point. One of the points that I wanted to bring up was the fact that the rainy scenes are very well paced. Um, but what the obvious studio mandated stuff, that's where the pacing falls off, in my opinion. I was very surprised by the America Chavez character. I liked her in that. and I liked the relationship between her and Strange. It's very much a father-daughter type relationship. It's definitely a mentor and mentee, and she's not OP, and she messes up and she gets things wrong, and she's not a Mary Sue, and I was happy to see that. Some people say Wanda's OP in this, and I'm not going to go into spoilers here for people who haven't seen the movie. And where they go with Wanda, I mean, I guess that's up to personal taste. And obviously I can't go into that without spoilers, and I don't want to do that just yet. But overall, I think the movie is a rental or a matinee. If somebody says, "Hey, I want to wait till it comes on Disney Plus," I'm not going to fight that. Okay, so that's my brief, non-spoiler opinion on Doctor Strange 2. My advice to people is just go during a matinee and check it out for yourselves. But if you have your mind made up that you're not going to go for it, I I would have to agree. You're probably not going to like it. If you're the die-hard Marvel people will love it for sure. Once I realized it's actually Savez's story with Strange as the muscle and mentor figure, instead I started losing interest. It reminded me of Willow a lot, but told from Mad Mardigan's perspective instead. Um, okay, yeah. I could understand how you got there. Um, like I said, there's a couple of issues that I had that kind of plug into their relationship that obviously I don't want to go into spoilers because I do know there are some people out there who haven't seen it yet, and if you haven't, why not? Come on, everybody has to go see Marvel. No, I'm kidding. Um, but yeah, War Monkey, you're not wrong. I think we're pretty much in agreement on this. If anybody watched Midnight's Edge over the last few days, I think Tom Connors and I are kind of in the same boat with this one. I found myself agreeing with him more than I did some of the other panelists. But hey, everybody has the right to their opinion. I went into this movie thinking it was going to be a complete trash fire, and I came out pleasantly surprised. My recommendation is still just a mild one, but it wasn't Captain Marvel awful, you know, or nothing burger like Thor: The Dark World was. But I don't want to go too far into Marvel this week. We do have some other news. I do want to drop our banner here. We do have a PayPal that is in the description. If you enjoy the show and would like to help us make more, uh, please donate to the PayPal because every cent helps. Um, I did like it more than I thought I would, actually. I would watch it again, unlike the other MCU movies this phase, excluding Far From Home, of course. Oh, yeah. Um, as far as Phase 4 is concerned, Far From Home is clearly the best movie so far. This is, I would put Doctor Strange at number two. Um, I Anybody who's been paying attention to the show for any length of time knows that I did not review the Eternals, and I still haven't seen it. I was turned off by the marketing. I may go back and see it at some later point, but not now. Um, Black Widow. I saw about 20 minutes out of it. I was more bored by it than anything else, but I haven't seen the entire movie, so I'm not going to come on and stomp it into the dirt. I based on 20 minutes, but that's me. Everybody has their own personal rating system, I'm sure. And Phase Four Marvel. I'm not impressed so far. Um, for the most part, they should have just stuck to television, or maybe waited a few years. Because to me, Endgame was Endgame. The end. With a pretty pretty damn good exclamation point at the end of it. And I mean, and you can argue if Infinity War is better than Endgame. I do think Infinity War maybe is the better of the two. But we're not going to get into that debate because we'll be here all day. But yeah, you know, um, anybody who's not impressed with Phase Four Marvel, I'm not going to talk you out of it. I, I, I really, really can't. I might rewatch Shang-Chi, but I didn't really enjoy it much. Just made me want to watch better martial arts films instead. I did like Aquafina, and it was surprising. Agreed. Yeah, I liked her in the movie too. I was also surprised. Uh, and of course she kind of gets the Han Solo move at the end. Um, Spoiler alert for people who haven't seen Shang-Chi. Uh, I gotta tell you, um, I didn't hate it when I saw it. Again, I thought it was kind of middle of the road Marvel. I do, in retrospect, I would probably rate it below uh, Doctor Strange. I did like Tony Leung playing the Mandarin. I thought he was great. I wanted to see a movie about him. I mean, yeah, I've always been a big fan of Tony Leung. I first saw him in Hard Boiled, the John Woo film from 1992, co-starring Chow Yun Fat. A movie I very highly recommend, especially if you're a fan of action films. So I started going back and watching some of his older movies, and I've been keeping up with him since. I thought he was the best part of Shang-Chi, and like I said, I would have liked to have seen a movie with his character. Uh, Obviously, we're not going to get that, but you know, you know, they're not making these movies for me. It's just my dream Marvel movie: Tony Leung as the Mandarin, 2 hours. Hey, I'm in. All right, so we're going to. Well, Monkey said he was outstanding. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was definitely a bright spot of that film. He was good. Aquafina was good. I liked some of the special effects, especially the dragon creature that shows up at the end. I thought that was well done. Um, but I like dragons anyway, so of course I was gonna like the dragon. That's me. So, all right. Without further ado, uh, I'm going to move aside, and we're going to go on to the weekly catch up, brought to us by Mr. Greg Dean Smith. of Rotten Tomatoes, and we've got some director news, as I stated at the beginning of the show. Spider-Man director John Watts drops out of Fantastic Four. In more movie news, Fast X, sorry, X, Fast 10 finds a new director, and new projects for Woody Harrelson, Simu Liu, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Blake Lively, Jason Momoa, and more. All right, we're going to move on to our first story involving John Watts dropping out of the Fantastic Four movie. And I'm not very happy about this news. He, of course, was the director of Spider-Man Far From Home. All the Spider-Man movies, in fact, I remember correctly. And this is the guy who just made the studio $1 billion, so I'm curious to see why he might have walked. Nearly 3 years ago, in 2019, following the completed acquisition of 20th Century Fox film and TV rights by Disney, Kevin Feige of Marvel Studios confirmed official plans for a fifth, depending upon how you count them, feature film adaptation of the superheroes known as the Fantastic Four. The announcement was followed in late 2020 by the news that three-time MCU Spider-Man director John Watts would be helming that adaptation for Marvel Studios. Despite this relatively steady process to development, we haven't heard much more about it since. But we know why Fantastic Four hasn't started filming or made any big casting announcements yet. After spending 7 years working on 3 Spider-Man films with Tom Holland, John Watts is going to take a break from superhero movies and has withdrawn from directing Fantastic Four. The departure appears to be amicable. As Watts stated of Kevin Feige in Marvel Studios, I'm hopeful we'll work together again. Marvel Studios is now on the hunt again for a replacement, with fans and pundits online suggesting people like John Krasinski and Brad Bird, whose Incredibles was certainly inspired by the superhero family dynamic of Fantastic Four. This year's San Diego Comic-Con is only about 2 months away, so that might be when we hear who has landed the Fantastic Four job, as well as possible official casting news for the team and or the team's villains. Fantastic Four does not yet have a release date. Okay, all right, I'm going to go into a minor spoiler here since War Monkey, if you're still with me in the chat, since you've seen Doctor Strange, what did you think of John Krasinski as Reed Richards? I know I liked him. He was certainly my choice for casting, and if they do in fact keep him for this upcoming film, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up possibly directing it. Even though I would like to see Brad Bird. You love them, yeah. I like them. I know there are some people who you know weren't happy with them. I had another issue with another actor in that movie who shall remain nameless. But as for Krasinski, yeah, I was totally fine with him. Um, I'm not I'm not sure I liked what they did with Reed Richards, but I understand why they went there. And it's a multiverse. We're going to see more of Reed Richards for sure. Yeah, I'm chat. Uh, who would you like to see? Would you like to see John Krasinski direct a Fantastic Four movie? Would you prefer Brad Bird? Do you have someone else in mind entirely? Let me know, because I wouldn't mind Krasinski directing, but I would prefer to see what Brad Bird would do. I mean, he's already laid the groundwork with The Incredibles. We're going to move on to our next story, and our next choice for director. Incredible Hulk director joins Fast 10 family. Just last week, five-time Fast and the Furious franchise editor Justin Lin made a surprising departure from Fast 10 after the sequel had already started filming. With an active set costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm sure that he meant dollars and not collars. Who knows? Maybe he might have meant collars. We don't know. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and we're not going to judge. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions a day. Universal Pictures was obviously under financial pressure to find a replacement quickly, and that's exactly what they did. The new director of Fast 10 will be Louis Leterrier, whose filmography includes the Clash of the Titans remake, Now You've Seen, and also for Universal 2008's The Incredible Hulk. Leterrier also just recently finished his work on the French Netflix action movie The Takedown and hasn't signed on for his next film yet. It is not yet known if Louis Leterrier's signing on will also include the 11th and seemingly final Fast and the Furious film, which is expected to film back to back with Fast 10, or if Universal is seeking another director for that project. As for why Justin Lin made the drastic decision to leave Fast 10 after filming had already started, a story by The Hollywood Reporter cited several contributing factors. Fast 10, starring Vin Diesel, Brie Larson, Daniela Melchior, Jason Momoa, Michelle Rodriguez, Charlize Theron, and several franchise regulars, is currently scheduled for release by Universal Pictures May 19th, 2023. Okay, yeah. Apparently, Justin Lin had some issue, and this is just the story I've heard. I cannot personally confirm this. That Justin Lin had some issues behind the scenes with Vin Diesel, apparently not taking the filming as seriously as Lin thought he should have. There have been people who have claimed that he had issue with Brie Larson. However, uh, based on what I've heard so far, she didn't have anything to do with his exit, and this is mostly a behind the scenes beef between Lin and Vin Diesel. Lin and Vin are not getting along, folks. Anyway, I had to think that it was either something like that, an issue behind the scenes, or possibly some sort of health issue to make a director leave the movie, when they've already begun filming. I don't remember the last time that's happened. I'm sure it has. I don't personally remember the last time. Usually they take a look at the dailies or the final film where they don't like the edit. Then they have someone come in and do reshoots or re-edit the film. They have the director actually physically leave during filming. I don't remember the last time that's happened. War Monkey about the last story says either one would be great. Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. I'd be happy with either one. I love The Incredible Hulk. Still one of my favorite MCU movies. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I like that version. And I know that there's a version out there that's quote unquote referred to as the Norton cut. That from what I understand is just the deleted scenes put back into the movie. Um, but yeah, I the theatrical edition that we got, I was happy with it. And if I remember correctly, the Abomination showed up briefly in Shang-Chi. but yeah, they got a director situation over there at both Marvel and now Universal. But it seems that unlike Marvel, Universal kind of got their personal shit together and got a director. And if you're a fan of the Fast and Furious films, as I've said previously, I've only seen the first movie. Um, I never heard of that cut. I'm going to have to search for it. Sounds awesome. I don't know if it's readily available. I know Andre from Midnight's Edge said on a recent show that he has a copy of that version of the film. Um, and according to him, the theatrical version that we got is the better movie. Uh, but yeah, there is a quote unquote Edward Norton cut of the Incredible Hulk MCU film. So if you have the chance to check it out, if you want to see it for yourself, go for it. All right, we're going to move on to our next story. Woody Harrelson, Simu Liu, and Jaimin Hansu share their last breath. A running theme almost every week nowadays in this column involves the sheer volume of actors who have appeared in a Marvel movie, especially if you expand that label to include the films distributed by Fox and Sony. One of the hot packages at the Cannes Film Festival this month has 3 stars attached, and all of them have appeared in Marvel movies, 2 of which were titular characters even. Woody Harrelson as Carnage in Venom Let There Be Carnage, Simu Liu as Shang-Chi in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Bracelets, and Jaimin Hansu as Kara the Pursuer in the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. And they are teaming up for a fact-based thriller called Last Breath, based on the 2019 documentary of the same title. Harrelson will star as a real-life diver whose cord to the surface while diving in the North Sea broke with only 5 minutes of oxygen left. And Simu Liu will play the diver who goes down trying to save him. Last Breath will be the narrative feature film debut of director Alex Harkinson, who also co-directed the documentary. All right. Well, this one sounds interesting. I like true life movies like this. The documentary I'm not familiar with. I'm going to definitely have to track that one down. I've heard good things about this movie. Um, I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, I'm going to have to check the documentary out. War Monkey or anybody in the chat, if you're familiar with the documentary and if you've seen it, let me know what you think. Um, I like the casting. Um, I knew Simu Liu has become a bit of a controversial figure because of some of the things that he said of late on social media, um, much of which I personally don't agree with, to be perfectly honest. But as an actor, I don't really have any issue with him. So I'm curious to see how he does in this movie. Uh, so yeah, I think we could use a few. We could use good movies in general because they're so few and far between these days. I'm going to be looking forward to this one. All right, moving on to our next story. Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Tobias Menzies are Nicole Hollis-Hefner's Beth and Dawn. Okay, give this a look. Director and screenwriter Nicole Hollis-Steffner has been making her own brand of dialogue-driven and indie-flavored comedies for over 25 years now, starting in 1996 with Walking and Talking and including Lovely and Amazing, Friends with Money, Please Give, and Enough Said, which co-starred Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Hollis-Steffner, and I'm probably saying that completely wrong, and now reuniting with Lou Dreyfus in her next film, Death and Dawn, in which she will co-star alongside Tobias Menzies, Edward Tully from Game of Thrones, and Prince Philip in seasons 3 and 4 of Netflix's The Crown. And if I recall correctly, he was the villain in Outlander for a number of seasons, uh, as the two title characters. A24 has acquired the rights to Beth and Dawn, which will tell the story of a happy couple whose relationship hits a snag when the husband admits he hasn't liked his writer wife's work for a very long time. Uh, hmm. Okay, yeah. Been done. But if you have the right script and the right actors, this could work. I tend to like A24. This doesn't sound like it's going to be as bizarre or offbeat as some of their most recent movies, but again, I like a good, well written character piece, and I I think both actors are good, and hopefully it'll get a theatrical release and not get stuck on Netflix or anything like that. But we will see. All right, we're going to move on to our next story. And speaking of John Krasinski taking directing duties, it seems that he has found one regardless. Uh, as the director of the biopic of the King of Oil. Okay, well, let's give this a look. This is the first time I'm hearing of this. Almost 4 years ago, John Krasinski made the news for producing a biopic called The King of Oil, which at the time had Matt Damon in early discussions to star. Damon has apparently since dropped out. Despite that period of inactivity, the biopic about the international commodities trader Glencore founder and convicted felon on 65 counts, Mark Rich, is still very much in active development. It's not known if Krasinski was once considering it's not known if Krasinski was once considering directing, but the project now has Peter Landsman attached instead. Mark Rich became an international fugitive who fled to Switzerland, but he was pardoned by President Bill Clinton in 2021 before eventually dying in Switzerland in 2013. Pardoned by President Bill Clinton in 2021. Yeah, that date's wrong, clearly. I think they meant to say 2011. Before eventually dying in Switzerland in 2013. It's unknown who will take over the role of Mark Rich, perhaps John Krasinski himself, now that Damon has apparently moved on. Um, okay, yeah. This isn't a political show, so we're not going to get into Mark Rich and what kind of machinations might have happened behind the scenes involving then President Clinton to pardon him. Um, I'm not going to go into whether I agree or disagree with that or not, but yeah, controversial figures tend to make the best biopics. So and so yeah, I mean, this is not a movie I'm in a hurry to see, but it could be good. It's got some decent people behind it, and we'll see if if John Krasinski takes the role. I think he would be again. He would be an interesting choice. And Jace Fox, 540 Studios in the house, friend of the channel, and of course, uh, Jace co-hosted the show with me a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully might have a chance to do that again sometime in the future. So everybody say hello to Jace and go over to 540 Studios and give him a sub if you haven't done that as of yet. I highly recommend his channel. Okay, we're going to move on to wow. Okay, more directing news. A lot of behind the scenes stories this week. Blake Lively to make directorial debut with comic book movie Seconds. Following the success of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, director Edgar Wright next gave us the graphic novel adaptation Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Since directing that film, Wright also adapted the screenplay from another graphic novel comic book by Brian Lee O'Malley called Seconds. Still attached to Seconds as a producer, Wright has instead hired actress Blake Lively to make her feature film directorial debut with Seconds. First published in 2014, Seconds tells the story of a restaurant owner and chef who is granted the magical ability to alter reality. But as she overuses the power, her choices threaten to unravel the fabrics of time and space. It is not yet known if Lively plans on also co-starring as the lead character in the film. Okay, here's a switch. I'm actually familiar with this graphic novel, and it's going to be an interesting film. I'm curious to see what Blake Lively does with it. If you like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I think you're going to like this as well. Um, I am going to make a confession that will probably make the chat want to kick me right off of the stream. I have not yet seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but I've heard a lot of great things about it. That's a movie I've definitely got to sit down one of these days and give it a look. In seconds, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be an interesting one, folks. I like it. So, all right, chat. Uh, what do you think? Blake Lively to direct the film adaptation of Seconds from the creator of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Thanks, man, and hope to do something again soon. Yeah, most definitely. I definitely got to check and see how my schedule is going to be because my work schedule is changing. In fact, I had to work this morning before this live stream. Scott Pilgrim is a great movie. I've seen it multiple times. Very fun. I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. So I definitely have to give that one. It's a good movie and has a lot of game vibes and anime. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, and as far as Blake Lively is concerned, I liked her movie The Shallows quite a lot. Um, kind of Jaws on a rock. It's pretty well done. And the only thing Brie Larson has done something good. Um, yeah, I've seen a couple of her scenes from that movie. I've seen, I haven't seen the whole movie, but I've seen little bits and pieces. And the scenes with her that I've seen, I did like. And I've said this before. I think Brie Larson is much better as part of an ensemble than being the lead, my opinion. Um, but yeah, Scott Pilgrim is definitely one that I have to catch up on. Uh, for every movie that I have seen, you'd be surprised by what I haven't. Like I said earlier, I've only seen the first Fast and Furious movie. Um, I've never seen The Third Man. I've never seen Groundhog Day, believe it or not. So there are definitely some movies I have to catch up on. Shoot, why should that's it. Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say either way because I'm trying to keep a PG-13 show. But she has not done herself any favors in the last few years by some of the things that she's said online. Um, so yeah. All right. Just to remind everyone, as you may have noticed the banner at the bottom of the screen, we do have a PayPal up now, and if you enjoy the show and would like to see more and would like to help us continue, please give to the PayPal. The link is in the description, and help us along. Every cent counts. All right, we're going to move on to the next story. Elizabeth Banks to take a dramatic turn in a mistake. Yes, I've heard about this one. In addition to her career as a comedic actress, Elizabeth Banks has also shifted to directing, with projects like Pitch Perfect 2 and next year's Cocaine Bear, featuring an ensemble cast that includes Alden Ehrenreich, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ray Liotta, and Kerry Russell. Banks will return to acting for her next film, but in a suspense-driven medical drama as opposed to a comedy called A Mistake. The project is being produced by by a New Zealand company with a New Zealand director, Kirsten Jeffs of Sunshine Cleaning. Banks will play a gifted surgeon who becomes the focus of a controversy following a surgery that goes horribly wrong. Okay, so we're getting a medical drama that seems to be going forward pretty nicely, as opposed to the uh, meant to be Aziz Ansari directed Being Mortal, which had to shut down production for some BS reasons, as we discussed on last week's show. Yeah, uh, I've been hearing some good things about the script for this film, so I'm hoping that it's pretty good. Okay, well, we'll have to keep up with the production of this film. I don't really know much more past what the article says, so going to go past that and move on. Okay, chat. Uh, Elizabeth Banks back to a dramatic film after a stint doing comedies. What do you think? Are you a fan? Are you not a fan? Does this sound like an interesting movie to you? Let me know. I'm going to move on to our next story. Royalty Meg Ryan to direct one called "What Happens Later." Okay. Writers have been lamenting the fall of the romantic comedy for years now, as they are made with far less frequency than they used to be. At the genre's peak in the 1990s and 2000s, there were just a handful of actresses who were most successful doing them, including Julia Roberts, Sandra Bullock, Drew Barrymore, and Jennifer Lopez. but one of the earliest and most prolific was Meg Ryan, whose credits include When Harry Met Sally and a trio of films with Tom Hanks: Joe versus the Volcano, Sleepless in Seattle, and You've Got Mail. Meg Ryan is now attached to star in and direct a romantic comedy called What Happens Next, opposite David Duchovny. What Happens Next is based on the play Shooting Star by playwright Stephen Dietz, who also co-wrote the film adaptation. Ryan and Duchovny will play a pair of ex-lovers who are reunited by chance decades later while snowed in at an airport. In related news, another romantic comedy in the works is Maybe I Do, which also features fellow rom-com veterans like Diane Keaton and Richard Gere, along with William H. Macy, Emma Roberts, and Susan Sarandon. Okay, so those of you who are fans of rom-coms, get ready to be happy because you've got a couple coming with some familiar faces behind them. Okay, yeah, I like some of those movies, um, but I do want to single out Joe versus the Volcano, and that movie is quirky as hell. I quote it to this day. So I was a huge fan of that one. Um, the screenplay by John Patrick Shanley, who also wrote Moonstruck and Doubt in the January Man. So if you're a fan of his work, and if you haven't seen Joe versus the Volcano, you might want to check that movie out. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next story. Jason Momoa to be the executioner in Murder Mystery. Okay. Much like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Fast and Furious franchise has had such a large ensemble cast of some of Hollywood's biggest stars, that its alumni frequently show up in columns like this one. This week, the Fast and Furious franchise accounts for 3 of our 10 stories. The second such story may surprise some who hadn't yet heard the news that Jason Momoa will be joining the franchise in Fast 10, reportedly as one of, or possibly the new villains. Momoa, who starred in Warner Brothers' Aquaman and Justice League, will be reuniting with the studio for an action murder mystery in the spirit of Knives Out meets Lord of the Rings. Okay, called The Executioner. Following an intense bidding war, although the premise is being kept secret, we can guess from the Rotor reference that the screenplay by Eternals co-writers Kaz and Ryan Firpo might have some sort of fantasy element. The Executioner does not yet have a director, and Jason Momoa will be busy for much of 2022 with Fast X, and possibly the 11th film as well. So the film doesn't yet have a filming start date either. Momoa's next film for Warner Brothers will be the DC Comics sequel Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, set to be released March 17th, 2023. Yeah, we'll see about that. Okay, so does this sound like, so chat, does this sound like anything you might be interested in? I can't see, Knives Out in Lord of the Rings. Uh, your guess is as good as mine. Um, it's a screenplay from the writers of The Eternals, a movie I didn't hear a single solitary good review for. Um, but like I said earlier in the show, never saw it, never reviewed it. Not really in a hurry to see it. Uh, I am, however, for what it's worth, a fan of Jason Momoa, and I like him in action films. So Yeah, if they at least get the action right and it's a half decent story, you know, it might be worth seeing, but it's far too early to tell. Um, since Jason, a couple of people in the chat had joined us a little bit late in the game, I'm curious. Did you see the Eternals, and what did you think? Uh, Although I think I can probably guess. Uh, and, okay, we're going to move on to story number 9. Ah, yes, this is one that I'm looking forward to here, folks. Jason Statham to be the beekeeper for Suicide Squad director. Following the slap involving Will Smith and Chris Rock, one of the projects that has been canceled, although reportedly unrelated to that incident, was Netflix's sequel to the 2017 fantasy action thriller Bright. Although no start date for Bright 2 had been announced, that decision may have left an opening in the schedule of the first film's director, David Ayer, whose other films include End of Watch and the first Suicide Squad, also starring Will Smith. Ayer is now attached to direct an action movie called The Beekeeper, starring Jason Statham, which is currently being shopped by Miramax at the Cannes Film Festival. The screenplay was written by Kurt Wimmer, who has written or co-written a fair number of remakes, like the Thomas Crown Affair, Total Recall, Point Break, and Children of the Corn. And of course, he was the writer and director on Equilibrium, which is a big favorite of mine, and also Ultraviolet with Mila Jovovich. But the Beekeeper's original concept But The Beekeeper is an original concept that is being described as an action thriller steeped in the mythology of beekeeping, about a man's personal journey of vengeance, which takes on national stakes after he is revealed to be a former operative of a powerful and clandestine organization known as the Beekeepers. Miramax reportedly has hopes that the films might kick off a new action franchise for them. So yeah, okay. Statham, Ayer, Wimmer, action. Could be a franchise. I'm in. I'm looking forward to this one, guys. Um, of course, hey, it's me. I like a good action movie and an original film. And what have we been saying on this channel? We want more original films, and we're going to get one here. War Monkey says, I did like the Thomas Crown Affair remake a lot. Uh, yeah, it was a decent movie. It was a decent movie. It changed some things from the original, but that didn't hurt anything. War Monkey, did you see the original Steve McQueen movie from the 70s? Because if you haven't, I would highly recommend that as well. If you like the remake, you'll like the original. All right, we are going to. Okay, well that was it. All right. Well, folks, we had a lot of we had a number of movies gain or lose directors. We heard about some interesting independent films, and we got a couple of rom coms coming up, and we have a couple of action movies. I'm very curious to see. All right. War Monkey of the Thomas Crown Affair. Only part of it, not enough to have an opinion on the original. If you get a chance, sit down and give it a watch straight through. It's not a long movie. I think it's maybe like about an hour and 40 minutes tops. It's a pretty quickly paced too, as I recall. And if especially if you are a fan, as I am of Steve McQueen, you'll you're not going to be disappointed. I'm a huge fan of Pierce Brosnan, though, so put him in a movie and I'll probably love it. Yeah. I like Brosnan as well. Yeah, so I'm always happy when he shows up in a movie, even if it's something that maybe isn't as you know as top quality as maybe some of his other ones. McQueen is cool. That's just a fact. Absolutely. You know, they did not call that man the king of cool for nothing. You know? So yeah. Since we're talking about Steve McQueen, if anybody is familiar with his films, what is your favorite? Because with me, even though I love The Great Escape, I would still have to, and for that matter, The Magnificent Seven, I would still have to say Bullet is probably my favorite McQueen film. I mean, because those other movies were ensemble pieces. If you, as far as the movies where it's McQueen up front, I gotta go with Bullet, man. I love that movie. I love Bullet. I really every chance I get to sit down and watch that one. I need to give that one another look. It's been a while. Uh, so yeah. All right. Well, we're getting up towards the hour mark here. We're going to be wrapping up the show here pretty shortly. So, Nigel, what did you think of the show?
Nice.
Yeah, I got to agree. Nice. Uh, the Great Escape would be my favorite. Yes, The Great Escape. The Great Escape is one of my favorite movies of all time. I cannot get enough of it. That movie is the fastest 3 hours that's ever been committed to film. Uh, and it's a true story too, about a group of Allied prisoners uh, escaping a German prison camp, and the plan was to dig a series of tunnels and bust 250 prisoners out of this prison camp. And I don't want to give it away for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, but please go look into the original story because the Great Escape only tells half of it. A lot happened afterwards. So I definitely very highly recommend The Great Escape. It's a masterpiece. Purple Valkyrie joining us in the chat. Purple, it's great to see you. Unexpected surprise. I am glad you're here. I hope that you are having a great day. War Monkey, War Magnificent Seven. I love the Magnificent Seven as well. And of course, that was a remake of Akira Kurosawa's The Seven Samurai. Another great classic movie, both of which I highly recommend. Plus James Garner, who's factually just cool too. LOL. Yes, he is. Yeah, he's very good in that movie too. Plays a man named Henley, who's kind of a con man. He's actually he's a lot of fun. He's one of the best parts in the movie. Everybody in that movie um, is outstanding. Everybody brings their A game. One monkey saying hello to Purple. And Purple saying hello back. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for being here. You guys in the chat made this a great show. And like I said, it hasn't been the best of weeks for me, and I know a few people personally that had kind of a rough go at things this week, and the guys we're still standing, we're still here, and they didn't kill us. We're a fellowship, and we're going to stick together through thick and thin, because that's what the fuck we do. All right, and War Monkey says I might have to rewatch it now. The way you described it makes me excited for it again. Yeah, me too. To be honest, um, we've brought up some really good movies. These are really good classic movies today that we gotta catch up on. And Great Escape definitely is one of them. Magnificent Seven, Bullet. I got to sit down and rewatch. Um, um, if you're a fan of Jedi Bill, he's doing a rewatch of a really great movie from 1983 called The Right Stuff, which was about the original Mercury 7 astronauts. That's another movie I highly recommend. I might if I have some time, I'm going to stop by his channel and watch that with him for a little while. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to stay for the whole show. But if you've never seen The Right Stuff, go over to Jedi Bill's channel. I think he's starting at 3 p.m. I don't know if that's going to be his time or not, but be on the lookout and check that out, because that is an outstanding movie as well. Sending you a hug, deleted scenes, virtual hug. Thank you very much. I do know a couple of people who could probably use one even more than I do. But yeah, I had a couple of personal setbacks this week, but we're going to rise above them. Going to rise above them, because that's what we do. Haven't seen that in a very long time. Great movie. Yes, yes, it is. Um, I question the accuracy of a few of the things that are in the movie, but I never let that get in the way of watching it. The Right Stuff is an outstanding movie. I remember the theater experience of that movie to this day, and because I was only like about 10 years old, when that movie was in theaters, maybe only 9. And I saw The Right Stuff at a movie theater called The Terrace. And The Terrace was very much, and The Terrace was this widescreen movie theater, and they showed 70 millimeter film. So you had that great, that great widescreen effect. It was kind of akin to sort of like IMAX now. And unfortunately, the Terrace Theater got destroyed during Hurricane Hugo. And I don't know how many of you remember Hurricane Hugo. It was in 1988, and it tore it tore through the East Coast, something awful. And it caused a great deal of damage. 250 tornadoes came down in South Carolina when Hurricane Hugo took place. And one of those tornadoes tore the ceiling off of the Terrace Theater and completely destroyed the interior. And they never rebuilt it, which was really too bad because that was one of the greatest movie theaters I've ever been to. And it was, I saw Return of the Jedi there, uh, Gandhi, and a number of other movies. You know, I was kind of a weird kid, because what movie do you want to go see this week? And I'm like, I want to go see Gandhi, and I'm like 9 years old, and I said, I want to go see Gandhi, this 3 hour plus, biopic. Like, I came up with some very odd choices. Okay. Purple Valkyrie says, I watched Village of the Damned last night. Still holds up. Yes, indeed it does. Yeah, that's another very good one as well. All right, so chat. We still got a few minutes. While I have you here, what movie from your childhood that stuck with you even now? Um, it could be an animated kids movie. It could be something that you were a little too young to see at the time, perhaps that maybe you shouldn't have been seeing. Um, so I'm kind of curious, chat. If or if there was like a theater or a movie going experience from your childhood that stuck with you. I'm curious to see a chat. In fact, come to think of it, that might be a good idea for a live stream. you know, because oh man, because I was always something of like a movie geek, even since I was a kid. And the movie theaters in my town, well, in the town that well, city, I lived in Charleston for a number of years, and there were a number of great movie theaters um, to go to. Um, Charlestown Square Mall uh, had this great movie theater there. Um, that was the one I probably went to the most. Pine Haven, which showed like a lot of. That would be the theater that would show for like Friday the 13th or some Italian horror movie or a black exploitation film or something. That would be the place to go. The Fox Theater where they had midnight showings of Rocky Horror Picture Show, where they had where Apocalypse Now played for a year, where they had like triple features of Godzilla movies. Yeah, great times. That's something I think I'm going to do a live stream on. Maybe invite some people on, and just stay tuned. Stay tuned. Purple Valkyrie says, "The Land Before Time, a film that left a lasting impression on me as a kid, and still one I love." Yeah, uh, I got to be honest. That's one of the ones I didn't see, but uh, yeah, Land Before Time. I've heard some good things, even now by people who saw it as a child. Um, if I had to pick one in that category for me, I would probably go with The Secret of Nim, which those of you who are fans of Troy Pacelli, he just did a rewatch of Secret of Nim a few weeks ago. That was uh, that was pretty cool seeing that again after so many years. If you could have any film shown back at the cinema to see again, what would you choose? Okay, there are a couple of ways I can answer this. Um, I would. Empire Strikes Back is definitely one um, that I wouldn't mind seeing on the big screen again. I would like to have seen something like the movie we brought up earlier, The Right Stuff, that Jedi Bill's showing later today. I That movie would have been great on IMAX. That would have been a great IMAX movie. But like I said, the theater experience that I had with that film was pretty good. If I had to pick a movie I that I didn't get a chance to see on the big screen because I wasn't born yet, was 2001. I would love to see 2001 on an IMAX screen. I really, really would. Um, I can't imagine what watching that. People going into that movie blind in 1968, you know, and this probably thought they were going into some cheesy space opera, and then and not expect to get this a movie that's basically about human evolution. Probably watching all of these apes running around and going, "What the hell is going on? Where are the spaceships?" Well, stay tuned because you're going to get the spaceships. Don Bluth is awesome. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I wish he would have done more films. The Goonies and Star Wars, Star Trek had effects on me. Got my spirituality from Jedi's, love of science and logic from Star Trek, and how to have a good time and enjoy life from the Goonies. Oh, and Nerds too. Yeah, um, I love the Goonies. I love the Goonies. That was one of my favorite movies from that time period. Um, saw it in theaters. Saw it at the Charlestown Square Mall that I brought up earlier. Um, you know, got that magazine that went with it in the lobby. And yeah, that was. Let's put it this way. I dug up a lot of vacant lots after them. always thinking, always thinking that I'm going to find some sort of treasure or something. And you know, aside from the odd shark's tooth or the occasional arrowhead, I really didn't find much other than a bunch of pennies and dimes. Um, like I said, I was a weird kid, and of course, Star Wars and Star Trek. The Star Trek the motion picture I saw in theaters. I think I pretty much saw the first four Star Trek movies in theaters. Um, I did not see the original Star Wars in theaters. My parents wouldn't let me go. They were afraid that the cantina scene was going to scare me with the with all of the aliens and all. I don't think it would have. I mean, I saw Alien when I was younger than I should have been, and I got through that movie without getting too scared. Um, but the interesting thing about Alien to me, and I'm going to go off on an Alien tangent here for a second. When I first saw Alien, the only actor in the cast that I was really familiar with was Tom Skerritt, and of course he plays the captain. He's the top billed actor of the movie. So I'm watching this thing and I'm going, Tom Skerritt is going to figure out how to kill the monster, and he's going to save the day. You he's not going to save everybody because it's the kind of movie that it is. But maybe he'll save one or two of the others. But he's gonna go in there and he's gonna take that monster down. And then halfway through the movie, he's taken away. And that's when I started to get worried. Because you got to remember, nobody knew who Sigourney Weaver was yet. You know, uh, uh, she had been in a couple of movies previous to that, but they were smaller parts, and I think they were in like Woody Allen films. Um, so nobody really knew who Sigourney Weaver was. That was like her first good movie, and so you go into that movie. I never thought that she was going to die in the movie. I figured she was going to survive to the end. But the fact that Ellen Ripley becomes the character that she becomes, that was pretty interesting. That was good. That was, you know, you know, it, folks, we don't need strong female leads. We already had them in movies. We had Ellen Ripley and we had Sarah Connor and we had Wonder Woman on television, and they were always there. Goonies never say die. No, we don't. Okay. By the way, War Monkey. Did you see where the actor who played Data, and he was short round in the second Indiana Jones movie. He's back to acting, and he's in a movie that's now that Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think is the name of it, with Michelle Yeoh. He stars in he co-stars in that. So it's really cool to see him back acting again. Brent Spiner. Um, Different Data. I'm talking about Data from the game. wanted to check that movie out. Sounds like I'll love it. Yeah, I've heard some interesting things. I know there's some people who didn't like it as much as others, but it definitely looks interesting. It's from the directors of Swiss Army Man. LOL. Yeah, yeah. The Goonies data is the one that's in the film with Michelle Yeoh. And he looks pretty good. He actually kind of looks like Jackie Chan a little bit. It's kind of cool. You know? And I understand he has some action scenes in this movie too, so it's cool to see that. Even though he's probably my age now or pretty close. Um, so, all right. I'm going to wrap it up here. Our friend Brandon, the anime guy, is going to begin his live stream at the top of the hour, and I kind of want to go over there and catch it myself, and I don't like to steal his thunder. So we're going to wrap it up here. I want to thank everyone who joined me here in the chat. War Monkey, thanks, bro. Jace Fox, Purple Valkyrie, um, everyone who was lurking, because I know there were some people who were a little shy, who were lurking, who weren't in the chat, or everybody who comes back to watch the replay. I'm not forgetting about you. I appreciate everybody who comes back and gives the show a watch, and those who go back and give it repeat viewings. I thank you very much. As some of you may have noticed, public speaking isn't necessarily something that I'm used to, and I tend to stumble over words because the mouth and the brain don't always connect correctly. The last few weeks, coming in and hosting the show solo like this, I come to build up my confidence a bit. And so please, if you'd like to see more, we have a PayPal link. It is in the chat. Every cent does help and does go towards keeping the show going. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep the show going. I do plan to be back here next week. And once again, I want to thank everyone in the chat for being here. Purple Valkyrie says, have a great weekend. Take care. And to you as well. And War Monkey, see you over at Brandon's. Yes. Coming in under the wire, it's Courtney's Fellowship of Oddballs. Hello, everyone. Have a great day. Yes, Courtney. Thank you very much for showing up, even if it was right at the end. All right, chat. This one is for you. You guys rock. I love you. This is the fellowship, and the fellowship will not die. We will rise above everything that gets thrown at us. So, without any further ado, I'm going to play us out. I want to thank everybody who was here today. Go over to Brandon the Anime Guy's channel. Check out Pop Culture Minefield. I'm going to be there later. I'm going to be on Rambling Semester Karaoke Saturday night after I get home from work tonight. Go over to Jedi Bill's channel later this afternoon and join him for his rewatch of the classic 1983 film The Right Stuff. And I am wishing each and every one of you a great weekend.